Zach is back with a Netflix horror original review. My wife is actually Spanish, so she actually told me how to pronounce the influence in Spanish. How you pronounce it is La Influencia, but the problem is on my damn autocorrect on my phone kept autocorrecting it to La Influenza, which is the flu. I was like, stop putting it the flu. I'm trying to say the influence, and it kept saying the flu, which, I don't know, that sounds like a horror story in itself, to be honest. Imagine that, the horror movie, The Flu. You know, there's probably a lot of diarrhea and throwing up in that movie. Not a good movie. Anyways, you guys, The Influence was a chore to watch, and it just wasn't very good for me. From start to finish, this movie is an hour and 40 minutes long, but for some reason it felt like 3 hours to me. It was just, the movie dragged. The gist of the story is that our main character, Alicia, is going back to her childhood home to take care of her mother that happens to be in a coma. The problem is that her mother happens to be a witch in a coma, and Alicia happened to forget all her childhood trauma of her mother torturing and abusing her and things like that, and that she can use dark magic. I guess she forgot all of that. I don't know. Never explained. A lot of the movie scares is basically stuff just flying around the room, kind of almost like someone had psychic powers can control that stuff. That's kind of the gist of the scares in the movie, and what the mother, or the comatose mother / witch, is trying to do is basically possess the kids in the movie because she wants a new body or something. Alicia doesn't remember that the mother was a witch and that she was bad to her, but she's going to go ahead and take her kids to that house and then remember that her mother was a witch and did bad things to her, and then don't leave the house afterwards. It's just, when you say it out loud, it doesn't make any sense. That's all I have to say about that. It's just bad writing, and it's almost like they just need her to stay there for scares to happen. You can tell that's just where the writers were trying to put her, so they had no real reason to stay there. All of it makes no sense, to be honest. Horror movies nowadays have understood that you can't just scare people with the whole mirror cliche. Like where someone will just close a mirror and usually something will be behind them. Well, a lot of movies nowadays, what they'll do is instead of closing the mirror and then something being directly behind them that second, they'll have that tense moment where you're like, oh, maybe something's there. Oh, nothing's there. Then they turn around and then they scare you because they've kind of learned where people know the cliches now, so they try to switch up the cliches a little bit. In this movie, it's almost like they're a decade behind, where the cliches are coming, you're already ready for it, and you're like, I think they might be switching it up a little bit. You think they're going to switch it up, but they don't switch it up. And then, they'll close a mirror, the monster's there, and you're like, oh, well, that was interesting. I thought they would probably switch it up a little bit. It feels like they're behind on the horror aspect of things. They don't know the cliches. They haven't watched a horror movie before. So, a lot of the scares in this movie, after the first couple scares, you got it. You know when the scares are coming. You know it by the T. The freaking second the scare's about to come, you know it's there. So you can just tell that it's not scary because you can predict everything like you're a freaking fortune teller. It's just weird. Yeah, the storyline doesn't make any sense, like I said before. They're trying to take care of their mother that happened to torture them as kids and does voodoo magic and stuff like that. No real reason for them not to just walk out of the house and go home, but there they are, they're doing it anyways. They try to explain away some of the contradictions in this movie through the use of magic and or forgetting memories. So it's just one of those things where it doesn't really make any sense, and when you start using magic to explain things away that obviously don't make any sense, that's almost like an easy out. You know what I mean? It's like they're trying to cover up the bad writing, and then they just put magic. It's almost like when people in Star Wars, I love Star Wars by the way, but I've heard excuses for certain plot points in movies. They'll just explain it through the use of the Force. It almost feels like that, but with magic in this movie, and it's quite annoying. You can tell in the movie that the writers are trying to explain away a lot of the contradictions in the movie by just saying, sometimes people suppress bad memories, or, they'll just say, hey, magic happened, so it kind of is like, they just explain things away by saying, okay, well, sometimes people forget, and then the other thing by magic, and that's not really good storytelling. They just kind of, it's almost like a loophole out when it comes to writing, just using magic. Just, oh yeah, you don't like this? Well, magic, that's why it happened. You know what I mean? It makes things confusing in the movie because you don't know the rules of the universe in this movie. So you're kind of just always asking questions the entire damn movie because you don't know what's going on and you don't know what actually can happen and can't happen in the movie, if that makes any sense. Like, if you could explain away the first half of the movie and just say, hey, you know, shit happens because people forget, and then the second half of the movie you're saying, well, shit, there's magic, I guess you can do whatever, it makes people confused. You know what I'm talking about, you guys? Like, the story ends up becoming unreliable and incohesive, so you kind of just are watching things to happen with no explanation, which, when that happens, the audience ends up becoming really confused while watching your movie, and confusion in a movie is never good. You end up just being confused, asking questions the whole time, instead of actually paying attention to what's happening in the movie. To sum up the movie is really badly acted, it's very cliche. The scares, I feel like, are like a couple decades behind when it comes to scary movies. Like, they didn't understand, like, when to, like, make somebody think that something's gonna happen and then kind of sucker punch them with something else. They kind of just did the real easy cliche thing, like my example before. You know, when you close the mirror and then, like, a monster's behind you? Well, they do stuff like that in this movie. That's how easy you can see some of the scares coming, and it happens frequently in this movie. It's just not a very good movie, you guys. I mean, I really wanted to like this movie. It had kind of a creepy tone and atmosphere to the movie, very depressing feeling, but nothing landed that they were trying to accomplish, like nothing at all. So, for me personally, this movie, Influenza, or The Flu, gets a D-. I suggest you guys not watch this movie. If you really have to, please comment below and tell me what you thought about it. Please like, share, and subscribe and do all of that YouTube business, you guys. Please comment down below, like I said before. Please click the little bell for notifications because I'm going to be making more horror reviews soon because it's October, you guys. And until next time, you guys, see ya!